She just comes to me in my dreams. The first time she ever visited me, I was freaked out. Hecate will teach me, like, she's, no, you're like a badass and you can take ownership of the dark and you don't have to be afraid of the dark. And then as I'm looking at her, she started shape shifting. I saw her go into a snake. I can't remember if she did a cat. She just shapeshift into all different animals and all black. We started floating and then we passed that three-headed dog, whatever that is. And then we had to, she said, hold on. And we dropped down a waterfall. So there was a woman who wanted to get pregnant. And she said, with life comes death. And we had to, for this incantation, and I don't know if these are actual rituals, you guys can tell me, but we had to kill a bird to help this lady conceive. And I was a little sad, but she wanted me to do it. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Spiritual Connections by Joelle. I'm your host, Joelle Burns, divine psychic medium, alien channeler, and intuitive healer. Let's talk about Hecate. You could say Hecate. It's spelled with a C or a K. She doesn't mind either way. So Hecate is a Greek deity that she is well known from getting her powers from Zeus. So the way that, this is what I remember, that Hecate, with getting her powers, that Persephone, which is the goddess of spring, was promised to Hades, the lord of the underworld. And Zeus had said if Hecate goes down to fetch Persephone out, that she will have powers that Zeus is able to give her. And so she went on that mission. She went and heard Persephone's cries, and she went down to get her out of the underworld. So she's depicted in the underworld as well, in the fact that she is always in the dark and she carries a torch to light the way. As a deity, she's not bad and she's not good. She's like in between. She's also known as the deity of witchcraft and magic, I think because of the powers that she was given. Her symbols having to do with the moon. She wears like a moon crescent over her head, sometimes depicted, and then also as a three-headed deity because of past, present, and future, and then maiden, mother, and crone. She has sacred symbols. Keys are things that will come to you and that she sends or she puts in place for you. Torches, dogs, everything black, all black is her colors, which is not a color. It's the lack of color. And dogs, snakes, serpents, crossroads, dark moon. What's the cat? There's like a cat with her, but it's called something else. Somebody can correct me here. She's also known to guide you at crossroads. So meaning like when you are stuck with a choice of which direction to go, Hecate is there. She is there to guide you, to help. She's never going to tell you one way or the other because of the fact that she always wants you to lead the way and have you pretty much do it on your own, so you learn on your own, so you grow on your own. So it's not like she will do anything for you in that fact, but she's so strong and powerful that she can help manipulate your reality around you to help bring things to you. And you have to be aware of those things and take your own step into it. It's just like the universe will send you things. And so some people lean on Hecate a lot. They will have altars for her. With those altars, you can do incense, you can do candle lighting, you can do rituals, you can do spells, you can leave her food. She loves garlic, eggs, and honey, wine, or milk sometimes. People will thank her and work with her in their spells. I don't call on her to work really, but she calls on me, and we have worked together in my dreams. She just comes to me in my dreams. The first time she ever visited me, I was freaked out. So I was lucid dreaming, which I sometimes think I forget that I do that, but I do it so naturally that maybe I don't know. So anyways, I was dreaming about, I can see it clearly because it was so instilled in my brain, that I was dreaming about the night before I was at a party. And I was at a party. So it was like replaying the party in my head and having a conversation with somebody. And so I'm having this conversation and we're on the right. And you know how when you're dreaming, everything's like a screen, which is like clairvoyance. It's like that's what it looks like to mediums, clairvoyance, when you're dreaming, that seeing things almost like a movie screen. And so to the left of my screen, I'm having this conversation over here to the right. To the left of my screen, there's this black dog that comes out of nowhere and into my, like, looking at my face, and so close to my face it feels, and the eyes are just so intense, like looking through me. And it freaked me out. Listen, Hecate, when she comes to me, she's a little bit scary. She's a little bit intimidating. But the nice thing that she's taught me is not to be afraid of the dark. That's my biggest thing that I've taken away from her, because I am afraid of the dark being a medium. I have a lot of things that tend to come to me at night when I'm trying to sleep, and I always do protection prayers and things like that. But Hecate will teach me, like, you're like a badass and you can take ownership of the dark, and you don't have to be afraid of the dark. Like, you can make sure that everything of light follows you in the dark, which is really cool. So continuing with my dream. So the dog was in my face, and I did lucid dreaming where I was like, no, get out of here, get. And it did. It moved back and moved away, and I couldn't see it anymore. Yet again, it comes up to my face. And I was like, I told you to get out of here. And I pushed it again. Third time comes to me. And then when it did that, I saw it still there. The dog was still there. But all of a sudden, instead of me having this conversation, all of a sudden there was this woman in all black and pretty much long black hair. I couldn't make out her facial features. I think she was cloaked. And she was standing where she always stands in my bedroom, right next to this dresser at the foot of my bed. So it's like a little off my bed, maybe by, 2.5 feet or so. And she's standing there, and I sense and know that she's there. And I knew her name right away, Hecate. And I was like, well, what is, I wasn't really sure. And as I was looking, the dog was still there. And then as I'm looking at her, she started shape-shifting. I saw her go into a snake. I can't remember if she did a cat. She just shape-shift into all different animals and all black. And I understood who she was, but I didn't know why she was there. I think she was just introducing herself to me, to the point where I had to get up, get out of bed. Normally, like, if I'm spooked at night, I do my prayers, Archangel Michael, come in, get rid of whatever, and I fall back asleep, no problem. But this was, I got spooked awake, like, to the point of almost excitement, and I had to search her, and I found this lady on YouTube that I was like, okay, I'm going to listen all about Hecate and get an idea of who she is. So she's exactly that. She chooses her people of who she wants to work with, her coven, her whatever you want to call it. Now, do I depict myself as a witch? No. But do I think it has a negative connotation? No. I think it's really cool. And I think working with herbs are great for medicinal use, and we should be using that anyways. And does herbs and things like that hold power just like crystals do? I definitely think so. I think it's all just however you choose to lean into it. So when I was saying that she chooses her people, and the reason why I explained my experience is because I want you to know her relationship with people might be different, but she definitely likes to come to people in your dreams. And she is going to want you to do the shadow work, want you to work through anything negative you've been thinking of lately, to work through that. And she's going to challenge you in that. And a couple nights after we first had that dream, then she came to me and she said, okay, we're going to work now. And this is shortly after I fell asleep. And I said to her, don't I need to get some sleep? She said, your body will rest, but you and I are going to work. And I'm telling you, like, it felt as if I was like physically up. It was very strange. Definitely astral projection of some kind or whatever, but it felt different because it didn't feel like me pulling the dream, quote unquote, or what was happening. It was more like her. She woke me up and she was like, okay, we're going to work now. I'll tell you what we did. So that night she took me and she said, we've got to do some incantations. And I said, okay. And I followed her into what seemed to be the underworld. We got onto a boat in this like black river-ish. It was very dark. There was black everything around. And we started floating, and then we passed that 3-headed dog, whatever that is. And then she said, hold on. And we dropped down a waterfall. So she took me so we went down that waterfall and it ended up plateauing out. I stayed in the boat just fine. And I can't remember if she said, okay, we're getting off here. And we stopped at this platform and she said, we're going to work with a couple of people. There was a woman that wanted to get pregnant that put her request in with Hecate, or I don't know how she got these requests, whatever it was. So there was a woman who wanted to get pregnant. And she said, with life comes death. And we had to, for this incantation, and I don't know if these are actual rituals, you guys can tell me, but we had to kill a bird to help this lady conceive. And I was a little sad, but she wanted me to do it. Like, she handed me the thing and I had to do it to help her. And I was like, okay, just following the rules. And I didn't really want to, but I was like, to help this woman get pregnant, I guess this is what I got to do. Then there was a male that requested he needed something for ED. So you can look that up if you don't know what it is. And so she was like, we need a lot of wood and we're going to build a fire. And it's something with throwing stuff into the fire and the wood being with that. And I can't remember if there was one more that we did, but I remember being like, she said, okay, we're done. And we went back up the waterfall, got in the boat, back up the waterfall, back through the thing, and then walked out. And I was like, oh, I'm tired. I want to go to bed now. And I was like, so grateful that it was like done. But isn't that interesting that she brought me and we did those together? It was really interesting. So there's others out there that people work with. There's Lilith. And I think they're definitely deities that are, I don't know if they're underrated because of the fact that they're more looked at as like dark, but they're really not. They actually are helping more people than anything else. The only thing is that when Hecate comes and calls to you, I'm going to tell you guys, she's a bit creepy. I love her, but she's I don't know how else to describe her, but badass and a bit creepy. But she's really cool. And if she calls on you, you are welcome to answer the call by that's exactly it, is like just communicating with her, opening yourself up to her, letting things come in and receive any messages like that. She's pretty cool in guiding you and allowing her to just help you along the way. She's going to challenge you at the same time. But another cool thing that I forgot to tell you too is she had told me I'm in her direct bloodline. Okay, guys, I just want to share about Hecate, and I hope you find this useful. And if she comes to you, just know that she's not bad, but she is scary. But she's there to help. Okay, thanks for listening for today's episode, and I want to send you love and light.